Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to a new episode of Catch-Up Vlogs, Once Upon a Time edition. Today the episode I'm going to be watching is The Price of Gold. Given the name, obviously Mr. Gold is going to be involved. Rumpelstiltskin is going to be involved. However, I can't remember if this is the episode that introduces the character becoming Rumpelstiltskin or if it's something else. I assume I'll find out very quickly as to that regard, but yeah, strangely enough, it's this is for some reason an episode I don't remember very well. So when I do anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Let's begin the episode, and I will see you all after the cut, probably in which I will remark upon whatever is in the intro portion of the episode. Fairy. Okay. Oh! Okay, yep, this isn't the one that introduces how Rumpelstiltskin became Rumpelstiltskin. Doesn't show how Rumpely Dumpely became Rumpely Dumply.
Grass. Every story needs a memorable detail.
Give God, those friggin' puppets. And that's how they decided on him for 50 Shades of Grey. Sorry. I can only assume with Regina / the Evil Queen that he picked up some tricks. Okay. So The Price of Gold. Again, not the episode I thought it was going to be, but obviously still based on the name, a Rumpelstiltskin-centered episode. Well, actually not so much centered, but obviously Rumpelstiltskin was heavily involved. And yeah, I can't remember what I said back when I originally recorded the video, but I liked this telling of Cinderella. It was very, the actual chunk of the tale Cinderella was very condensed, and we get a bit of the after story when she's with her Prince Charming, or Thomas, I think. Yeah, he's Sean in our world, and Thomas in the Land with Magic. Probably still saying the names wrong. I apologize. But yeah, I thought it was overall very enjoyable. A few notes that I wrote down. The fairy godmother. I do know I mentioned this back in the recording. She was gorgeous. And I was very sad that she only stays around for not even a full minute. I think Rumpelstiltskin vaporizes her within 30 seconds of her appearing, which really sucks. But yeah, I have to look into the actress. She's very pretty. Maybe that's a little bit creepy. I don't know. Anyway. But yes, again, the episode, aside from Cinderella, had a major focus on the Rumpelstiltskin, aka that name that annoys some of you, which I have many, aka Mr. Gold. And one thing that I don't think I noticed this the first time around, but I find it very interesting that in all that time there, considering who Mr. Gold is, what he does in that town, I'm very surprised that Henry hasn't made the connection of Mr. Gold being Rumpelstiltskin. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because Gold doesn't have a firm connection with Rumpelstiltskin, other than in the original tale, he had, I don't remember who the maiden was, or the princess. Anyway, had her spin, what was it, hay into gold, or yarn into gold, something like that. But, I mean, obviously there's that connection there, and considering all that Henry knows about these tales based on the book alone, it's clear that Rumpelstiltskin would appear at least once. He's kind of involved in both of the major, well, not even both, but seemingly many of the major characters in the Land with Magic. So yeah, I don't know. I just find that really curious. Again, that he hadn't made the connection there. Some of my favorite quotes from this, two of which come from... Oh, wait a second. Yes, okay. So sorry, I was getting it mixed up here. Every story needs a memorable detail. That comes from Rumpelstiltskin, and it's so perfect, just playing along with the sort of the meta commentary when it comes to this show and fairy tales in general, focusing primarily on the glass shoes. So yeah, I really like that. It was quite enjoyable, if I do say so myself. And one thing that's been on my mind, but I've forgotten to mention in the last few videos, so everyone in town is a fairy tale character, or comes from fairy tale world. Don't get mad at me for not knowing the name. Who are the kids? The kids in Henry's classes. Who are they, / what parents do they come from? I am just insanely curious, incredibly curious to know what the story is there, and whether or not they will actually be touched on in future episodes. Not necessarily the first season, but in the future even. It's like they have, 7 seasons for me to go through? I can only assume that at least some of those kids are brought up through the course of the show. Or do they happen to be just ordinary kids? I mean, I obviously don't know. You all would have a better idea, but I'm really interested to find that out. And if you do feel like answering, no spoilers obviously, but let me know, yes or no, if any stories actually focus on or reveal the identities of the kids in Storybrooke. Again, I've said this already, very curious to find out the facts there. Well, and then obviously there is the idea of Emma becoming a deputy with the sheriff, which gives us a very saucy reveal at the end, which I'm really looking forward to getting into more of that story. I can't remember exactly where it was that I left off when it comes to what happens afterward, but anyone that hasn't watched past this episode, why are you watching this? But you know what I mean. What happens after things happen at the police office? Police station? Whatever. But also, Ruby. Ruby has actual speaking roles in this other than just, oh, and just a quick one-liner. She actually has some character development, or at least we learn more about her character in that she is quite attractive. She catches the eye of many a person there in Storybrooke, but she also has friends, and she is loyal to those friends, and she is willing to help, but obviously she isn't very trusting of Regina / the mayor, so hence why she won't say anything in front of Henry. So I'm looking forward to learning more about Red/Ruby, but obviously that'll have to wait for another day. And kind of going back to the Cinderella and her Prince Charming little deal, obviously there's no real connection there that I can tell with her prince. It's like him being Thomas in the old world, and then Sean in the world without magic. But, and this is a theme from what I can tell. I actually think someone might have pointed this out to me, and I just can't remember who it was to quote them. But Cinderella, which obviously, like, the symbolism there is cinders, like where she was a maid and working, she would have soot all over her. Ashley, cinders, ashes. Ta-da! I like that connection. Ooh, and when we are in Mr. Gold's store, I very much remember this, and it still creeped me out when I saw it. Those freaking puppets! Oh my god, they're horrifying. Like, the only thing that could have possibly made them worse is if they were just full-on porcelain dolls with just those dead eyes and that plain white skin just staring into emptiness, and when you stare at them, you stare into the void. But yeah, the puppets freak me out. After the wedding of Cinderella to her prince, one of the things that I really liked, and it was just too short-lived, but it was in the moment where Snow White and Cinderella dance. And it's just, obviously I don't know a lot about, old-timey traditions and things like that, but I would assume it's a bit unconventional for one of the women to dance with another woman there, in the ball after the wedding. Considering they're both princesses, there would likely be exceptions, but as far as old-timey traditions go, I can only assume that, while not necessarily taboo, it would be kind of frowned upon. So just the simple fact that they had that little moment where they got to talk and they danced together, I found it really cool, and it shows just, one, the fact that Snow White, whether she's a princess or whether she's a thief, just doesn't give a F. And kind of, I think given enough time around Snow, Cinderella would start to get a bit of that attitude as well, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. And when Regina leaves for the council meeting, I noticed the comic book that Henry was reading, Ultimate Hulk. It might have been the first issue, but I actually have not only the individual issues, but also the graphic novel collection of that, which wouldn't really even be a full graphic novel, but it's basically a trade, like a hard back collection of those. But yeah, I actually have that, and it's an okay story. I mean, I enjoyed it more back in the day, but it's an okay story. Anyway, moving on from there. A question regarding this episode, and I guess a theory as to the answer to that question. But when Ruby has her car dropped off, the person letting it go or moving it there was Billy. Now, this is just based on the fact that if they name a character, I can only assume that they're supposed to be from a fairy tale. So who is Billy? And my theory is that since all the dwarves that I've seen so far is like Sleepy and Grumpy, and I've probably come across another that I just didn't notice, they have very, I guess low-income jobs would be the right word. I don't mean that to be insulting, but perhaps Billy is one of the dwarves, and I just don't know who? Yeah, I don't know. Now, if that's something that is actually revealed in the future, don't tell me. But if there's any kind of theorizing, or if I'm even kind of... Let me know if I'm hot or cold in the assumption that it might be one of the dwarves. I don't know. But of course, then again, he didn't look that short. I don't know. Forgive me. But probably one of the biggest moments in this entire thing for me was just the entire scene around trapping Rumpy Pumpy, trapping him in the cave and using that quill to freeze Rumply Blumply in place. Sorry, I had to throw it in. And one thing that does confuse me a bit. So they use the quill to freeze him in place. And then they transport him to the caves where he is to be held. So, are the handcuffs, or at least the restraints, magic as well? Because it just seems like the fact that he's unfrozen is like, he was able to talk even when he was frozen, but the fact that he's not still in that frozen stance, I guess I just don't fully understand how he's supposed to be restrained if he has all this super powerful magic, and why, if it's... again, I can only assume that maybe the restraints had some magic on them as well, which is what keeps him restrained, because otherwise, why do you need a big special jail to keep him in if normal restraints will hold him? Just, I don't know, kind of an inconsistency there for me. If I did miss something, let me know, because I'm legitimately curious as to if they have an explanation for that, or if it's just a loophole, or not a loophole, plot hole, which isn't a big deal, but, it's there. And obviously that brings us to the deal that Emma makes with Mr. Gold. I don't believe that deal had been cashed in on, to the point that I watched to previously through the first 9 episodes. So I'm interested to see what that is, or remembering what that was, if we do get brought back to the deal during this time in the vlogs. But yeah. And then also a nice little tie together with the baby of Sean bringing the little baby shoes, like just the cute little white sparkly baby shoes, and putting them on, and they fit perfectly, just like the glass slippers. And then, of course, the use of the name Alexandra, which is what Thomas chose in the world with magic, or in the land with magic, or the kingdom, etc. I swear I'm going to write down the name. Actually, I'm going to remember to do that after I'm done recording this. And then that memory, or at least that subconscious memory, got pulled into the world without magic. So yeah, overall a really good, enjoyable episode. I am very much looking forward to getting into the next one, which will be... Ooh, that's Still Small Voice. I do remember what that one's about. That's going to involve Jiminy Cricket, a.k.a... oh no, I'm forgetting his first name. Chester? Chester Hops? It's something Hops. But I cannot remember his first name for some reason. Anyway, Jiminy Cricket! It also shows where the puppets came from, which is always nightmare-inducing. Blah. But anyway, everyone, thank you for watching this episode, following along with this vlog. I hope you're enjoying me catching back up with these. If you have any comments you would like to say, please leave them in the comments down below. If you'd like to check out my original Discovering Once Upon a Time video, I will provide a link to it right about here if you want to go check that out. There's also should be links to a full reaction and all that in the description of that video. And yeah, until next time, everyone, I am Papa Ken. See you in the next episode.